Welcome, everyone. A bunch of people joining us today, so we'll wait just a moment or two to um, get started. Hey, I think we'll get started. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's Lunch and Learn event. My name is Kate Howell. I'm the Director of Workforce Partnerships for Education. We're a business-led nonprofit focused on increasing college and career readiness and advancing educational attainment. I lead the Maine Career Catalyst program, which is hosting today's event. And our program is dedicated to working with experiential learners like you to help support and facilitate exploration of the wealth of career opportunities and industries that Maine has to offer. The program was founded in partnership with Focus Maine, and we want to thank them for their continued funding support. A few reminders for today: unlike regular Zoom, you don't have to worry about cameras or being muted, but we do want to hear from you and have questions in the chat and Q&A. With that, I'd like to officially welcome your host for the day, Abby Park. She's been an intern with Educate Maine for the past semester, and she's been able to work across a number of projects and a wealth of information to share with you today. We may have this summer, or just better understand what may be ahead of you in the future. She's done an amazing job with us since joining our team, and I encourage you to ask her a lot of questions along the way today. And with that, I'll welcome over to Abby to introduce herself and get us started.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kate. And thank you everybody for being here. I'm really excited to talk to you guys about how to navigate your internship. I know it can be sort of a, anxious time, but don't worry, it will all work itself out. It'll all be okay. It's not as bad as it might seem. If you guys have any questions at all, feel free to pop them in the Q&A and we will get to them at the end. Anytime you have a question, let me know. All right, so to start, I just want to get a sense of everybody's status with their internship. I just want to know, where you guys are at. Do you have an internship set up for the summer, set up for next summer? If you don't have an internship or you're just curious about learning, so feel free to answer the poll and I'll give you guys a couple of seconds to answer and then I'll share the results. Looks like most of you have an internship set up this summer, which is great. Congratulations for getting an internship. That's honestly, in all of having an internship, that's the hardest part, is getting it, finding it, getting it, going through the interview process. But the actual internship is awesome. All right. All right, so it looks like 78% of you have an internship set up this summer, which is great. 17% are hoping to get an internship for this summer, which is awesome. Still have some time. And then, yeah, awesome. So congratulations. It's a really exciting time. Internships really are awesome for experience. So we'll get into how to navigate. So first, I just want to talk a little bit more about Maine Career Catalyst, build off of what Kate said. So at Maine Career Catalyst, we support experiential learners by providing you guys with opportunities for professional development, along with social and networking opportunities and events such as this one. We support the exploration of career paths and help you guys navigate the awesome job opportunities that are right here in the great state of Maine. Our events facilitate connections among participants with local businesses and business leaders. This event is mostly for students, but our events in the summer have a mix of interns and business leaders and business partners, but we'll talk about that in a minute. To read all about what we do and to read about our amazing staff, head to our website. So I just want to introduce myself, give you guys an idea about me. This is a picture of me and my puppy Finley. She's not here today, so you won't be hearing her bark, which is good. So I went to St. Anselm College in Manchester, New Hampshire from 2019 to 2021. I studied elementary education. I only had one semester before the pandemic hit. But because of the pandemic, I decided to transfer to USM. I started in the spring of 2022, and I am set to graduate next month, which is crazy. 4 years go by so quickly. I am a social behavioral science major, which is really interesting. Didn't work out for me to teach, but this major is really, really awesome. I love it. So with social behavioral science, we had to take an internship course. I wanted to have an internship anyway. So having it for credit was a win-win. So I wanted to talk to you guys about how I personally found my internship with Maine Career Catalyst. And for those who are looking to get an internship, hopefully this will help you with some ideas on where to find one. I checked a lot of resources like Indeed, online job boards like that. I looked through the job board online through USM. So job boards through your school is a really great resource to find not only internships, but jobs for when you graduate with your degree. But in particular, how I found this internship was an email from USM from the Career and Employment Hub. It's a program at USM called the Career Exploration Internship Program. And if anybody is a USM major, or sorry, attends USM, I'll just talk a little bit more about that. The Career and Employment Hubs program, they're paid internships that are 10 to 12 hours a week, totaling 150 to 180 hours a semester, and you are paid $18 an hour through USM. So they had a bunch of different internship opportunities. A lot of them were IT and STEM related. So I applied to this one at Maine Career Catalyst because it was really the only one that I found that wasn't STEM related. And it was really interesting. It was something that was outside of my social behavioral science major. So I was really nervous that I wouldn't get it because I didn't really have any experience in communications or events or administration of that sort. So I was really happy that I got it. I have really enjoyed my time. And it really goes to show you that even though your major might be one thing, an internship is a really great opportunity to explore different career paths that you might want to take that don't necessarily align with your major. And that's really the beauty of internships. So I end my internship next week, which is crazy. But I feel confident that I can walk away with valuable skills like confidence and networking that have really helped me feel prepared to step into the professional workforce. And with that, I want to give you guys some easy wins that you automatically get once you secure an internship. You might be nervous to start, but don't worry, it truly isn't as intimidating or scary as it sounds. So internships are really meant to help students put a foot in the door for being able to step in the professional workspace after graduation. So you're doing yourself a huge favor by securing an internship, thinking about getting an internship. Going through that process, again, is the hardest part. So again, some easy wins that you get by securing an internship is that you automatically strengthen your resume with something that is more professional. I know my prior experience was in retail sales, working in the summer and during school. So I'm really happy that I am able to put this professional experience down on my resume while I'm currently applying for jobs after graduation. You're also able to build a professional network that you can use later on in your career. So Maine Career Catalyst, with what we do, we partner with a lot of local businesses, and I've had to reach out to a lot of them to set up some events and stuff. So I've really been able to build a large network, and I'm really happy that I have that in case I need it in the future. You are guided along the way in your internship. You are not left to your own devices. The point of an internship is to sort of put your toe in the water about stepping into the professional workforce. You are not left to your own devices. Again, internships help you explore different career options or industries that you don't necessarily align with your major. And you also just build confidence that you're ready to enter the professional workforce, which is awesome. So turning to employer expectations in your internship, expectations with your employer differ from workplace to workplace and job to job. But I'm going to discuss with you guys just sort of more universal expectations. It's really important to communicate with your supervisor about what you need personally to do your best work. I know, we know how we learn best in school. So this is sort of the same idea, figuring out what it is that you need to do your best work. Whether that's having a weekly meeting, or building, asking for an email of a colleague, figuring out what you need to do your best work. Don't be embarrassed to ask, because it's okay to ask if you need something. It can be intimidating or scary to ask, but it really only allows you to do the best work that you can and build your strengths, but while also helping your employer. Personally, I have a standing meeting with Kate every week, and it's really helpful for me to have that, not only just to sort of check in, see where I'm at, but if I need anything more assigned, if I need some help with something. I like having a standing meeting, knowing that I can come in with anything that I need. All right. So another expectation is to ask for help. This does not make you a bad employee or bad at your job. It's really quite the opposite. It shows that you have initiative and that you care about doing your job well. It's important to ask for help because you're not expected to know everything immediately once you're hired. I know that I was never the type of person to ask questions in class. I would always wait for somebody to ask the question or just not ask it. But working at Maine Career Catalyst has helped me realize that questions are necessary for producing the best, outcome, not only for me, but for Maine Career Catalyst. And it helps me do the best job that I can. Another employer expectation is dress code. So dress code is an important form of communication, and we'll circle back to communication a little bit later. But dress code varies by each workplace. For example, the dress code of a teacher is a lot different than the dress code for a state legislator. So we'll circle back to dress code a little bit later. And then finally, working with others in the company is likely an important aspect of your job, depending on where you work. So you might have to collaborate with workers who you might not know well or you might not like. But it's important to try and create a connection with others who you're working with, but also within the company, so that you feel a sense of belonging and that you're happy where you are. It allows you to also expand your professional network. You really never know who has connections to who. So it's always worth, reaching out to others. All right, so going back to professional communication, communication is one of, if not the biggest, employer expectation. And it's really critical to being a successful intern and a successful employee in the future. Communication comes from, it comes in many different forms. We likely will know it as verbal and written, but when it comes to work, it comes in a lot of different forms. Online and in person. I know most of us have a lot of experience online with school. Again, the way you dress is another important form of communication. You know, if you have say you have an internship at a lab and you wear flip-flops, probably isn't the best idea. So dress is really, really important, making sure that you're dressed appropriately. Body language is a huge medium for communication. Say you're in a meeting and you have your arms crossed or you're doodling, that can, kind of communicates to your superiors that you're not focusing and that you're sort of passive. So it's really important to practice active listening, nodding, not interrupting, eye contact, sitting up straight, just showing the other person, your superior, that you care about what they're saying and that their time is important to you. Communication occurs in a team or one-on-one setting. And again, this can be in person or online. Feedback is another really important form of communication. And it's important to learn how not to take feedback personally. I know it can be hard for some people. It's been hard for me, but feedback is really important and it ensures that you're doing the best work that you can do. All right, so we're now going to focus on written and verbal professional communication being the most well-known forms. And those will likely be what you encounter in your future internship. So when communicating either verbally or written, it's important to consider the context and the audience, using appropriate language, no swearing or slang. When writing, especially, use proper punctuation, with both using appropriate language and punctuation. It's not like texting your friends. Whenever I email somebody, I always reread it a couple times, but once is enough, just to make sure that everything looks fine. Another important piece is using the recipient's preferred title if you know it or if you're able to find it. My sister, she's at UNE. She has a professor who insisted that everybody calls him doctor. And after the first few days, one of her classmates accidentally said professor, and he was very offended. On the other hand, while I was creating this presentation, our executive director, Jason Judd, he holds a doctorate, and Kate said that he had a doctorate, and I never would have known that he had a doctorate. He never used it in his signature or anything. So even if they don't use a particular title, it's good to just know in the back of their mind, in the back of your mind, that they hold it. But addressing somebody by their proper title is important. Thinking before responding. So chances are that you'll communicate more clearly and professionally when you're able to sit with something and think before talking instead of responding right away in the heat of the moment. I'm sure a lot of us have had experiences where we've said something in the heat of the moment and we regret it immediately. So sort of that same idea here. Finally, be intentional with what you're communicating. Think what the goal is of the communication. It's important not to, waste time. It's also important to consider the timing. Say if you're talking to your superior, say they had a really bad meeting and you could just tell that they were in a bad mood. That might be a good opportunity. If you had something that wasn't pressing, that might be a good opportunity to not approach them. If it can wait. But of course, if it can't wait, then, you'll have to talk to them. But being intentional is really important. If you guys have any questions, please feel free. Take the time to pop them in the Q&A. And I just want to do one more poll. Want to see what you guys think about professional communication. So I want to know, how you feel of how you relate to this statement. I'm confident in my professional communication abilities. Just curious. I know for me, I was pretty neutral. I know in the beginning it was hard for me. I would like reread like my email to somebody over and over again, making sure that like I sounded professional. I probably sometimes sound too professional. Um, but yeah, I just wanted to see what you guys have to say. All right, so let's see the results. So it looks like 12% of you guys strongly agree that you are confident, which is great. Most of you guys agree that you're confident, which is awesome. And for those of you who are neutral or disagree, it takes practice. It doesn't come automatically. It takes practice, and that's what we're here to help you guys with. So don't worry, it'll come with time. All right. So I came across this really interesting study. I just wanted to, share these results. In a national study, 79.7% of students felt that they were really proficient in their communication abilities, but 46.9% of employers felt students were proficient. So again, it just goes to show you that practice makes perfect. It doesn't come automatically. The point of an internship is to get you guys is to get students prepared to enter the professional workforce. So, it's all it is practice. All right, so now we are switching gears to talking about working virtually. Working virtually, some of you may have an internship that is fully online or might be hybrid. Working virtually, it's a lot different than working in person. And for some, it can be harder. I know for school, at least, I did not like working online. I liked being in person, learning in person. And I think I'm the same way too, when it comes to working. But it definitely is more convenient working online sometimes, but it can be harder. It's not like you can, walk down the hall and pop your head in your supervisor's office to ask them a question. Sometimes emailing people, they don't get back to you in a timely manner that you need. Plus, there are a lot of distractions that you have in your house, which happens. But it's important when working virtually to do everything that you can to set up as much of a quiet space as possible, and professional too. So blurring your background if you have something hanging on your wall that might not be work appropriate. And dressing appropriately, at least from the top. I wear sweatpants and leggings all the time, but nobody sees what you're wearing for pants. So, as long as you have something, work appropriate on the top, then that's perfectly fine. But really just finding a space that you can set yourself up to work in for the day and be an active participant is really all that matters. But sometimes no matter how much you try to set up a space where you can focus and get work done, there are distractions. Some of us have kids and pets. It happens. My dog Finley, she's at daycare right now, but she loves to sit on my bed and bark at every dog, person, or car that comes down the street. Also loves to bury her bone like right by my feet. So especially during meetings too, which is great, but distractions happen. That's, sort of what you get working from home. But really all that matters is that, you are doing as much as, possible to be an effective worker and, working actively. All right, so winding down, I wanted to give you guys a little bit more information about what we offer, especially in the summer. This is only a small sample for the summer events of what we offer. All of these opportunities are really fun, really great opportunities to network and with people who are in similar positions as you, build connections, which is they're really, really fun. So we have in-person and online opportunities. The bowling at Bayside Bowl is our Portland opener event. And then we also have networking and outdoor activities at the Nonantum Resort in Kennebunkport. And then we have a bunch of different lunch and learns like these. Some of them are panels, some of them are more presentations like these, but everything that we offer in the summer, really, really great, really awesome to make connections professionally and socially. We partner with nearly 100 Maine businesses, again, to provide interns with these opportunities. So if your internship site is not a partner and you're interested and you reach out to them and are interested to participate in any of the events that we have, feel free to contact myself or Kate, and we would be more than happy to walk your employer through the steps of becoming a partner. But to find a full list of businesses that we partner with, head to our website. All right, so I just want to leave you guys with an important, hopefully anxiety relieving statement. Just like with any job that you're hired at, no one hired you to watch you fail. You were hired for a reason. You were hired because somebody saw that you had the skills and abilities to be successful and to be a positive influence with them. So I know sometimes it's really hard to remember that. It's hard to tell yourself, that you're here for a reason, but you were hired because somebody saw potential in you. And I know it's hard to remind yourself, but try and remind yourself if you're ever, feeling down about it. Internships, every aspect of working professionally takes practice. Internships are meant to get your foot in the door, not to, dive in completely. Internships are really, really a great stepping stone to getting into the professional workforce. All right, so that's all I have. If you guys have any more questions, feel free to pop them in the Q&A. Hopefully this was helpful for everybody.
Yeah, so Abby, it looks like we had a couple of good questions that came up in the Q&A. A couple of them are pretty specific, which I love. They're just like things people are thinking about as they head into their first position. So the first one is, I would like to know how best to handle lunch breaks, bringing pre-prepared lunch to eat at work, locating nearby restaurants to eat at, etc. And I know that in your work with us, it was a little bit more virtual than not. So when we were in the office with you, we often bought you lunch, which is great. But I think I can handle this one maybe a little bit more, having worked with a bunch of different employers, if that works.
Yeah, I'll if it's okay, I just wanted to say just a few words.
Yeah.
When I would go into the office, I only came into the office a couple times, unfortunately, but every time you communicated that we would get lunch, and you knew the best spots, because I'm in Brunswick, so, and I go to Portland a lot, but I don't know all the good spots. But yeah, I normally bring pre-prepared lunch, but I'll let you handle this one.
Yeah, so having worked at a couple different employers, and some of them smaller or larger, I think the easiest thing to do is kind of just know what your own style is. Obviously, like buying lunch can be really expensive, and especially on an intern salary, you don't want to kind of blow like an hour's worth of pay on like a really expensive lunch somewhere every day. And I think it's just a really valid question to ask either your recruiter, your HR person, your supervisor, whoever you're in contact with as you're headed into the summer. So it's really easy to just, as you're getting, responding to a question about orientation or information that they might have sent you, to just say like, hey, just wanted to know what the lunch setup was or what might be available to us to either store or prepare lunches if I brought something from home. Because if it's a larger company that maybe has an internal cafe or something like that, they'll also share that information with you. But it will also help you to like better know, like, oh, it's a really small office and there's like a microwave and like a really small mini fridge. Or like, oh, there's like a mini cafe on like every floor of our building. And just kind of like set the standard, like, oh, is there a lunchroom, or like, oh, are you going to be eating at your desk? So I think, or like a break space. So asking that question is probably the best way to handle it. But I would say that most offices are really prepared and set up for people to be able to bring their own lunches. And in terms of like taking that time, at lunch to eat. I'm always a proponent of people like holding time on their calendar, even if it moves around, right? So I hold a half hour on my calendar every day for lunch. I sometimes it moves around, and sometimes I get a phone call and I just take it at a different time. But it ensures that I have time and space in my calendar to do that, and it doesn't accidentally get booked where I have like, 3 hours worth of meetings from, 11 to 2 and I'm starving. So I think that that's a really good thing to do is just hold time and know that it can be flexible, but also, you know, just kind of get a feel for what happens at your office. Do people tend to take a full hour? Do they take more of a half hour? And then understanding what the expectations are in terms of your time and overtime, right? Like if you're scheduled to be at the office from 8 to 5 every day, 40 hours would then include 1 hour of lunch break. So it's important to know that, because if you're only taking 20 minutes or a half hour, you'll actually end up with overtime at the end of the week. So it's better to talk to your supervisor about that at the beginning. Like, hey, is it okay if I take a half hour and come in half hour late or leave a half hour early? Like, what would you want me to do? Or is it really you need me to be here the whole time and I should plan for an hour? And just setting that expectation early will be really helpful.
Yeah. And I was looking more. Oh, sorry. I was just looking in the chat really quickly. And it says, sounds like some meal prep is involved. Yes and no. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I'm really lazy with lunches, and I love the like microwave, like lean cuisine meals. So if you want a meal prep, you can do that. But also, having some convenient, like there's a lot of different like convenient foods that you can microwave, keep in the fridge. But it really just figuring out what makes you comfortable after the first day. It'll all work out.
So another one that's come up in the Q&A, Abby, I think it's a quick one, is how do you create a good signature in your email? So I can give a pointer on that, but how did you create yours?
Well, mine was created when I first came in, but it from what it was, what I came in with, my name, my title, at Maine Career Catalyst, phone number of the office, or how best to reach me, and also a PNG of our logo. But if you
did you design that yourself, or did you take notes from like me or other managers that you worked with? Like, how did you just choose to design it?
I believe it was based off of other employees at Maine Career Catalyst and Educate Maine.
Yeah.
And also,
so that's what I would say too.
Yeah.
Is Isabella asked the question, and I think just asking your manager, like, is there a template we're supposed to use, and if not, like, can I just copy yours? Like, that's the easiest way to ensure that you're following a protocol. And if you feel like there's something missing, like for example, not everyone puts their pronouns, but that's something you want to do, you can always edit it to make that happen. But I think looking at the things that your supervisor's doing or other managers or folks, if there's not a protocol, is the best option.
Yeah, it's a really good question.
Well, there's another question in here. Can you discuss email versus text communication with peers and managers? Did you want to take a shot at that, Abby? Like how you chose to communicate, or if you asked us or asked folks like what the preferred method was, or how you kind of managed that from the beginning?
Yeah, so personally, my view with communication is MCC uses Gmail. So once I enter my MCC Gmail, I just automatically take a professional tone as much as possible. I mean, I feel like I've been, I feel like I've been more like relaxed and have more of like a relaxed conversation type once I felt more comfortable as my role progressed. But I feel like just a good rule of thumb is like be as professional as possible when using employee offered modes of communication like Gmail. But you're also welcome to text with your coworkers outside of Gmail or however, or Word or whatever. Yeah, if you want to add to that.
Yeah, I think that initially you should stick to the modes of communication that your managers use, or in the first couple of weeks, like kind of or meetings with them, ask what their preference is, right? So it may be that it's easier to text, right? I know that when Abby first started, we were really using email, but then I was on the road traveling, and so I texted her about something. So I think from there, she knew that it would be okay to text me, but we still use email as our baseline communication. So I think generally speaking, most people would be using, company-based communications and not texting all the time. But kind of understanding that and talking about it with your manager, like it's easy just to say, like, what's the best mode of communication? And how do you prefer, like, if there's something I just need a quick answer to, would it be easier to send you the email, or is there like another option? As an example, it might be text, or it might be a chat service attached to your email address or things like that. So just really the answer to a lot of this is just ask, and that's really okay.
Yeah.
So Abby, there was another question about the best way to communicate needs for time off during an internship. And I'll just quickly answer that and say, I know that it can be hard, especially when you're there for a short period of time. But being upfront really early, or as early as can be helpful. So if we're talking about like a week-long vacation, hopefully you already told them about that. And if you haven't, I encourage you to talk to someone, your recruiter or your manager, who you contact with before you start. Because no one wants a surprise like your first week that you need a week off. If we're talking about like a day here or there, like someone's getting married and you need a Friday off, or even that you're sick, I would just be as upfront and as early on in the process as you can. If you have a doctor's appointment or something like that, like just let your supervisor know. Or maybe it might, maybe not the first day, but like within the first week, just to say like, hey, I have a couple of doctor's appointments, or I have like a family event that's happening later this summer, and I might need like an afternoon or a day off. Like, do you want me to send you like some things in an email, or can we just discuss them and see, make sure that they align with like all of the needs? And even if it's something that really isn't flexible, sounding flexible can be like a good entryway into the conversation. Just want to make sure that those dates align with what the organization needs from me isn't really like, it's not going to change the date of your sister's wedding, right? Like, you're still going to need that Friday off, but it has a different tone than saying like, I need this day off, thanks, right? So just kind of having that, like as Abby talked about with all the communication, it's really about the air of flexibility and like a conversation and negotiation. It just gives a sense of professionalism that like you're aware that you're asking for something that's different than what was expected, or that you're asking for time off, and that's a sacrifice at some level, right? Like, it's not a big deal at all, but like just that recognition can be really helpful.
Yep, definitely.
And the last question is pretty specific, but I'd like to respond to it more in terms of any kind of accommodation for a disability, a medical issue, a medical concern of any kind, which is I would encourage you to go to human resources and let them know, right? And have them help you coach that conversation, no matter how big or small the organization is. I think that can really help you and set you up for success long term. Obviously, we all hope that you could go to your manager, and if Abby had come to me and said like, hey, I just want to let you know that I have ADHD, or I have something, and I have a hard time focusing, and so I really which is like, I just need to know that sometimes I put you with things, but it's not that I'm not listening. It's like, actually, it's helping me focus. That's great news, right? Good for letting me know. Thank you for that information. Super helpful. I now have I have all the information I need to take in what's happening, and not be distracted by it when it happens, or be left wondering what's going on. So we all hope that that's the conversation that you'd be able to have with any manager. But I definitely encourage you to head to someone like human resources that can help you navigate that and make sure that the organization knows what's happening. They may say like, oh, that's no problem at all. Like, just go talk to your manager and let them know. And if you have any questions or any concerns or anything happens, then come back to me and let me know. Right? It just opens another pathway and a door, that you're not like out on an island by yourself. So I wouldn't be worried about it at all. I would just maybe encourage anybody that has any kind of accommodation, even if it's small, to just go to someone in like the HR realm to say, hey, I just wanted to let someone know about this and wanted to know the best approach with my manager and see if there was something you could help with. Like, it's just a best practice. Oh no, I can do it. Hopefully that answers the question. But if there's a follow-up to that, I'm happy to answer it. Or if you have other questions, like more specific, like you could always email me too, and I'd be happy to help.
Yeah. All right, so I think that is it from us today. If you guys have any further questions, please feel free to email either myself or Kate. And I hope this was helpful for everybody. Again, congratulations on taking this big step. I know it can produce some anxiety, but I promise it's not as bad as it may seem. Good luck with your internships and your future endeavors, and have a good afternoon, everybody.